Oh, look at them, shaking, because you just detonated the one trap they were so sure you'd walk into. That's the kind of sentence that should be echoing inside the enemy's skull right now. That quote belongs taped to their wall as a warning sign, because it sums up exactly what happened. You didn't just rock somebody's whole world. You didn't just disrupt their little scheme. You blew up their entire secret operation without even trying. One wrong glance from you, one moment of clarity, one shift in your energy, and their whole blueprint turned into confetti. They're still coughing in the smoke while you're standing there like, oops, did my awareness ruin your evil agenda? Now imagine this for a moment, chosen one. You walk into a room where everyone thinks you're clueless. They're passing signals, swapping glances, coordinating a setup right under your nose. You're supposed to miss it. You're supposed to be the sweet one, the soft one, the easy-to-play one. They think you're a page while they're the mastermind. But then you tilt your head, raise an eyebrow, and suddenly the whole cast realizes the script isn't going the way they rehearsed. Their smiles crack, their timing slips, their plan collapses like wet paper, all because you saw what you weren't supposed to see. And here's the fact that hits them harder than any metaphor. Psychologically, most manipulative people overestimate their intelligence and underestimate their target. Studies show that con artists get caught not because the plan was weak, but because they assumed the victim wasn't paying attention. That's exactly what happened here. They underestimated the wrong one. You became the glitch they never predicted, the variable they never accounted for. You were supposed to be fooled, but instead, you were watching them watching you. That alone sent their entire agenda spiraling into panic mode. And thank you, chosen one, for being here, for being sharp, for being awake in a world that tries so hard to keep you blind. Don't forget to pay this message back by simply pressing the like and subscribe button to help spread this message to more souls, because it's the responsibility of all of us to spread the light. And thank you, chosen one, for being part of this mission. You are part of a force that shakes rooms simply by standing in them. Now let's slide right back to our topic, because this intro isn't about hype, it's about clarity. This whole video, this whole message is about the exact moment you unknowingly blew up their secret operation. The moment your awareness snapped into place and the enemy realized they were dealing with someone far more dangerous than they assumed. You didn't stumble into the truth. You recognized the pattern. You felt the energy shift. You noticed the timing, the inconsistencies, the weird coincidences that weren't coincidences at all. You sensed the trap because chosen ones don't just see, they perceive. You didn't need proof. Your intuition was the proof. And the moment you honored that feeling, you cut the red wire on their entire setup. The explosion didn't happen to you, it happened to them. The truth is, they had already celebrated. They spent the money you never agreed to give. They rehearsed the story you never intended to believe. They told people they had you wrapped up, locked down, fooled, manipulated, handled. They sat on the edge of their seat, waiting for you to take the bait. They even bragged about the results before the game started. That's how confident they were in your blindness. But the moment you hesitated, the moment you stepped back, the moment you questioned something that didn't sit right, their stomach dropped. It's wild how the tiniest shift from you can send shockwaves through their whole world. You don't even need to fight them. You simply wake up and their plans turn to dust. They thought they were hunting you, but they were exposing themselves. They thought they were setting you up, but you were studying the setup. They thought you were the target, but you were actually the mirror reflecting every one of their intentions back at them. Chosen ones don't walk into traps. Traps collapse under the weight of chosen ones' awareness. You're not the victim in this story. You're the plot twist. You're the moment the villain starts sweating. You're the one variable they couldn't manipulate, couldn't predict, and definitely couldn't control. You didn't disrupt their agenda accidentally. You disrupted it because the universe wired you to break illusions just by existing in your sharper, upgraded form. They were counting on your confusion, but you're too observant, too evolved, too alert. You caught on right in time, and that alone rocked someone's entire world. They're sitting there right now staring at the wreckage of their own plan, wondering how the person they thought they could deceive ended up being the one they should have feared the most. This intro is your confirmation. You didn't dodge danger by luck. You dismantled danger by intelligence, and they know it. The enemy is flinching because you didn't fall for the performance. You saw the hands behind the curtain. You watched the puppeteer panic, and now they're scrambling in the dark while you walk in the light. You just rocked somebody's whole world, and that is only the beginning. And Chosen One, lean in for a second, because what you just heard was the opening scene, not the climax. That was the smoke before the fire. You just rocked somebody's whole world and totally disrupted their evil agenda, and we're only warming up. If you're really built for this, if you're truly carrying that rare awareness that makes the shadows panic, then stay right here with me. This breakdown is about to get deeper, sharper, and way more uncomfortable for the enemy. And if you're riding with this message, pay it back by pressing like and subscribe, because it pushes this truth into more hands that need it. And if you feel called to bless this mission with a super thanks, know that your support fuels the people behind this and helps amplify the light in a world drowning in noise. Drop the number 99 in the comments if you're ready to keep dismantling their agenda piece by piece. And now let's step right into the real story. Because if you are a genuine chosen one, you're going to feel that instinctive pull to hear every detail. Something in you already knows this story mirrors your own. Stay with me. The deeper we go, the clearer everything becomes. Let's get started. Number 1. They didn't plan for you to see the room shift. Funny how they practiced their lies for weeks, only for you to ruin everything with one raised eyebrow. That line alone should make the enemy twitch, because it perfectly exposes what they never expected, you seeing the room shift before they even executed the plan. They didn't plan for your awareness. They didn't plan for your intuition. They didn't plan for the quiet brilliance you carry without bragging about it. They thought you were simple, soft, predictable. But chosen ones have a way of sensing the temperature change before anyone else even notices the thermostat moved. And this time, you didn't just sense it, you acted on it. You pulled yourself out of their trap so fast, it gave them emotional whiplash. This is the moment they realized they misread the script. The moment they understood they weren't dealing with some clueless extra in the background. They were dealing with the main character who suddenly started reading their lines out loud with a smirk. Chosen ones always see the glitches. You notice the tone shift, the awkward pause, the way someone's story changes by 2 inches each time, the way a room gets too quiet when you walk in. You see everything because you were built to see what others pretend not to notice. Now imagine this, chosen one. You're sitting at a table where everyone thinks you're naive. They're exchanging glances, giving subtle nods, shifting their body language to signal each other like a bunch of low-budget actors in a bad movie. But instead of falling for it, you tilt your head and your eyes sharpen just enough for them to feel it. That one tiny gesture from you is enough to make the entire scheme collapse. They freeze, their timing stutters, Their confidence slips through their fingers, because nothing terrifies a manipulator more than realizing their target is finally reading the room. Psychologically, this is a textbook moment. Research shows that people who rely on deception tend to miss one critical detail. They assume the other person isn't paying attention. Manipulators live off the belief that they are the smartest in the room. They build entire traps around that ego. But chosen ones, you have a pattern recognition ability they cannot comprehend. Call it instinct, call it awareness, call it experience. Whatever it is, it makes you dangerous to people who rely on subtlety and secrecy. And here's a fact to sit in your bones. Some of the most powerful people in history were underestimated for the exact same reason. Look at Albert Einstein. Teachers thought he was slow because he didn't learn like everyone else. Yet, he saw patterns no one else could grasp. Look at Harriet Tubman. She sensed danger and betrayal faster than any trap could catch her. Look at Steve Jobs, brutally aware, reading energy instead of words, always catching what others glossed over. The great ones notice micro-shifts, invisible tells, weird coincidences, and they trust them. That's what you did. That's what terrifies your enemies. You trusted the shift. Now, I know what question might be floating through your mind. Did I really see what I think I saw, or am I overreacting? That's the enemy's favorite trick. They depend on your doubt. They want you to think you're paranoid so they can keep moving behind the scenes. But the truth is, chosen one, your awareness has saved you more times than you even realize. You're not overreacting. You're perceiving. You're not imagining things. You're confirming things they hoped you'd never detect. Trust it, because the moment you do, their whole setup begins to break apart. Another question you might wonder is, why me? Why do I always sense things others miss? Because your mind doesn't operate at surface level. You weren't built for shallow living. You read undertones, body language, voice inflection, pacing, energy, motives. You spot the tiny misalignment in someone's story. You hear the silence behind the words. And whether they admit it or not, people feel it. They feel exposed around you. They feel naked. They feel predictable. And that scares them more than anything. Think about how many times you've been in a situation where something felt off and you couldn't explain it. But later, everything you sensed turned out to be true. That isn't luck. That's pattern recognition mixed with intuition. Chosen ones don't just see the room. They feel its pulse. They sense when a story is too polished. They sense when someone suddenly becomes overly helpful. They sense when the timing is weird. They sense when a person's actions don't match their words. That's your superpower, and it's the exact power that ruined the enemy's entire operation. And let me give you a metaphor they'll never recover from. Imagine a chess master trying to play a match against someone they assume is a beginner. They underestimate them. They don't study their moves. They rush. They gloat. They're sloppy. But the beginner has been quietly studying strategy for years, so when the master makes a greedy move, expecting an easy checkmate, the beginner flips the board with a clean, elegant, unexpected sequence that leaves the master staring at the pieces like they've forgotten the rules. That's you. You're the unexpected checkmate. Chosen ones don't attack first. They watch, they observe, they wait to see who shows their hand, and in your stillness, the enemy grows confident, too confident. They forget that the quietest presence in the room is always the most dangerous. They forget that you don't move unless you know you're right. They forget that you've survived too much to be caught slipping by amateurs. And then, when you catch the shift, the whole illusion shatters. They didn't plan for the way your eyes track inconsistencies. They didn't plan for the way you remember tiny details without meaning to. They didn't plan for your ability to compare today's behavior to last week's behavior. They didn't plan for your silence, not knowing that silence is your scanning mode. They didn't plan for the moment your energy changed, and theirs exposed the truth. And here's the part that hurts them the most. You didn't have to confront them. You didn't have to yell. You didn't have to cause a scene. You simply stepped back, opted out, or chose not to play. And that single decision destroyed the architecture of their plan. That is the power of a chosen one. Your no is nuclear. Your distance is devastating. Your awareness is a weapon, and your refusal to ignore the room shift is the exact reason you're protected. You saw the room shift because you were meant to. You caught the weird timing because you were built to. You recognized the subtle signs because you've been warned by life, sharpened by pain, trained by betrayal, molded by adversity. Your entire story prepared you for this moment. This is why the enemy's agenda collapsed the second you opened your eyes. They didn't plan for your intelligence. They didn't plan for your intuition. They didn't plan for your resilience. They didn't plan for your growth. They didn't plan for your silence. They didn't plan for the way you walked in with a higher awareness than their entire group combined. They didn't plan for you to see the room shift, but you did. And that's exactly why their whole world is shaking. Number 2. Your value was way higher than their little minds could process. They thought you were small, until they tried to control you and realized you were the whole storm. That line alone should send a cold chill down the spine of every person who underestimated you. Because that's the truth they're wrestling with right now. Your value wasn't just higher than they assumed, it was miles beyond the limits of their imagination. They looked at you with cheap eyes, shallow perception, and an ego that made them believe they could size you up in one glance. They thought they knew your worth, but chosen ones never fit inside the tiny mental boxes people build for them. Your power, your potential, your influence. It all existed far outside their league, and that miscalculation is exactly what collapsed their entire agenda. The enemy always underestimates what they can't understand. They saw your kindness and called it weakness. They saw your silence and labeled it fear. They saw your humility and mistook it for a lack of capability. People with limited minds always shrink the world around them. They can't help it. They project their smallness onto others. But chosen ones, you're built with a depth they can't measure and a resilience they can't destroy. You operate at a frequency they can't decode. And that's the part that shattered them, because everything they planned depended on you being less than you are. They expected you to be predictable. They expected you to be impressed. They expected you to be needy, desperate, confused, blind, or dependent. But you came in with a completely different energy. You came in with dignity they didn't account for. You carried self-respect they didn't expect. You held boundaries they didn't prepare for. And the moment they felt your value, instead of just seeing it, their stomach dropped. Because it meant their plan was never going to work. Now imagine this for a moment, a group of people designing a trap for someone they assume is fragile. They whisper, plan, rehearse, manipulate, and calculate every detail based on the belief that the target is naive. But what they don't realize is that the one they're plotting against has already rebuilt themselves from places those people couldn't even survive. You've already walked through moments that could have broken anyone else. You've already endured losses, betrayals, storms, and situations that forged you into something sharper. So when their little scheme crosses your path, it's laughably small in comparison to what you've conquered. Psychology calls this phenomenon value blindness. People with insecure or manipulative tendencies often cannot recognize genuine greatness because their internal filters distort what they see. They assume everyone is as unaware as they are. They assume everyone is operating from the same shallow motives. They assume everyone can be tricked with the same cheap tactics, and that blindness is exactly what destroyed their plan. They thought they could play you. They didn't realize you're the type who studies the entire board, not just the next move. Another fact they never saw coming. Chosen ones tend to hide their strongest traits until the moment it matters. You don't walk around broadcasting your intelligence. You don't brag about your intuition. You don't show off your strength. You move quietly, subtly, observing everything while pretending to observe nothing. That's how people misjudge you so easily. They think the quiet one is harmless, until the quiet one flips the entire situation with one decision. And here's something that should make you smirk. Some of the greatest figures in history were underestimated by the exact same type of people. People thought Nikola Tesla was too eccentric to matter, until he reshaped the entire modern world. People thought Oprah was just a talk show host, until she built one of the most powerful media empires alive. People thought Michael Jordan was average when he didn't make his high school team, until he became the icon every athlete studies. Underestimation is never a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of the enemy's tiny, underdeveloped perception. The question you might be asking yourself is, why do people always assume I'm less than I am? Because you don't lead with ego. You don't shove your greatness in people's faces. You don't need to scream your worth. It radiates naturally. And quiet greatness intimidates the insecure more than loud confidence ever could. Your value threatens people who have none within themselves. Your presence exposes their lack of depth. Your integrity exposes their deceit. Your growth exposes their stagnation. And instead of rising to your level, they try to drag you to theirs. But here's where it gets interesting. The entire collapse of their plan happened the moment they realized they couldn't reduce you. Their whole strategy depended on you being easy to manipulate. Their confidence depended on you believing their lies. Their success depended on you shrinking yourself down to fit their narrative. But you didn't play small. You didn't fold. You didn't bend. You didn't abandon your self-respect. And it shocked them. It shook them. It rattled something inside them so deeply that they're still trying to figure out how everything slipped from their control. You didn't fight them with force. You beat them with value. The value they never saw. The value they never respected. The value they never accounted for. You destroyed their agenda simply by refusing to lower yourself to match their expectations. Your worth was too high for their manipulation to reach. Your awareness was too sharp for their tactics to hide. Your presence was too strong for their plan to breathe. And the moment your real value revealed itself, their entire operation suffocated under the weight of their own ignorance. Let me give you another metaphor that should sting them deeply. Imagine someone trying to rob what they think is an abandoned house. They sneak in, careless, overconfident, bragging about the treasures they're about to find. But when they step inside, alarms snap on, lights flood the room, and security systems activate because the house was never abandoned. It was protected by technology they didn't even know existed. That's you. They walked into your life assuming you were unguarded. But your value triggered alarms they weren't ready to face. And the part that breaks them the most, you weren't even trying. You weren't on the attack. You weren't playing games. You were just being who you are. And that alone was powerful enough to dismantle everything they built. Chosen ones never need to prove anything. Their existence is the proof. Your value speaks for itself. Your energy speaks for itself. Your presence speaks louder than any warning you could ever give. They miscalculated because they measured you with their tiny ruler. They thought they were dealing with a lightweight. They thought you were basic, simple, easy, predictable. They didn't realize they were dealing with someone layered, evolved, intelligent, intuitive, powerful, and unbreakable. They didn't realize you carried history inside you. They didn't realize you carried lessons that sharpened your awareness. They didn't realize you were built differently. And not in the cliché way, but in the literal psychological, emotional, and energetic sense. You were never who they thought you were. You were far more, and that more is what crushed their agenda. Their plan didn't collapse because you fought back. It collapsed because your worth was too high to manipulate in the first place. You were the wrong target, the wrong victim, the wrong person to test. They aimed low because their mind is low. They thought small because they are small. But your value, it stood tall, unshaken, untouched. Your value was way higher than their little minds could process. And that truth alone is what destroyed everything they tried to build against you. Number 3, their trap needed a fool, and you refused to audition. Wild how they built an entire trap, only to realize you're not dumb enough to play the part they cast you in. That line alone should make the enemy bite their tongue, because it exposes the exact humiliation they're drowning in right now. Their trap needed a fool. Their plan needed someone blind, desperate, predictable, and easy to steer. They needed someone who would nod along, follow instructions, fall for the act, and walk straight into the hole they dug. But you refused to audition for the role. You weren't about to play the clown in their circus, and that decision alone destroyed everything they prepared behind your back. The funniest part? They already spent the money. They bragged about the outcome before it happened. They rehearsed their fake apologies, their guilt trips, their sweet talk, their manipulative scripts. They coordinated timelines, messages, and lies. They built an entire story around who they thought you were. That's the part that stings them most. Their trap wasn't based on reality. It was based on their delusion. They planned for a version of you that doesn't even exist anymore. Now imagine this. Chosen one, a director casting actors for a play, confidently assuming you'll accept the role of the gullible one. They print the script, dim the lights, set the stage, and tell the other actors, don't worry, they'll fall for it. They always do. But when you show up, you don't read your lines. You don't perform. You don't even sit in the audience. You walk right past the theater altogether, and the whole production collapses because their entire performance depended on you participating. That's how fragile their plan was. One no from you turned their whole operation into dust. Psychologically, manipulators rely on prediction. They study patterns, not growth. They assume you'll behave the way you did years ago. They don't notice your evolution because they never bothered to look deeper. But the universe is with you now, sharpening your intuition, guiding your instincts, and clearing your path long before their traps even show up. You are protected by timing, clarity, and awareness they can't touch. And you might be asking yourself, did I overreact by pulling away? No, you outsmarted them. Did I ruin something that could have been good? No, you saved yourself from something designed to break you. Did they really think I wouldn't see it? Yes, because small minds confuse kindness with stupidity every time. The truth is simple. Their trap wasn't strong. Their plan wasn't brilliant. Their manipulation wasn't clever. It only looked that way in their imagination. The second you stepped out of their narrative, the entire scheme fell apart like a cheap stage prop. You didn't audition because you were never meant to play a role in their story. You're the chosen one. The universe has bigger scenes for you, higher stages, louder applause, and real purpose waiting. Leave them in their broken theater. You have your own show to steal. Number 4. You were supposed to show up, but destiny stalled the car. They waited for you to walk into the trap, but the universe cut the engine before you could even turn the corner. That line alone should make the enemy flinch, because it exposes the exact cosmic embarrassment they just experienced. You were supposed to show up. You were supposed to walk into that room, answer that message, agree to that meeting, fall for that apology, sign that deal, or trust that person one more time. According to their little schedule, you were the final piece needed to lock their plan in place. But destiny stalled the car. Instinct slammed the brakes. The universe grabbed your steering wheel and yanked you out of harm's way before the jaws of the trap snapped shut. This is the part they'll never admit out loud. The timing was too perfect for it to be coincidence. You suddenly felt tired, distracted, uninterested, uneasy, or off. Something told you not to go. Something told you not to reply. Something told you to wait. You didn't even know why. You just felt it. And that feeling was the shield that saved you. Manipulators hate this because they can plan around weakness, predict confusion, exploit trust, and take advantage of desperation. But they can't defeat timing. They can't overpower intuition. They can't control the universe aligning in your favor. Now picture this for a second. A hunter waiting in the woods, convinced their prey will walk the same path it always does. They sharpen their tools, steady their breath, and grin with confidence. But on that exact day, the wind changes. The forest shifts. The path redirects. Nature pulls the prey in a completely different direction. The hunter is left sitting there looking ridiculous, realizing the world they tried to dominate is bigger, smarter, and faster than their intentions. That's what just happened. Their entire plan depended on you being predictable, but you've outgrown predictability. And here's the question you might be asking yourself: why did I get that sudden feeling? Because chosen ones are wired differently. Your instincts activate before your conscious mind catches up. You sense danger in silence. You feel betrayal in tone. You detect bad energy like a radar. The universe doesn't whisper to everyone, but it shouts to you when something is wrong. Your absence destroyed their opportunity. Your delay dismantled their plan. Your hesitation protected your future. You were supposed to show up, but destiny stalled the car, and that single glitch in timing saved your entire path. The universe is with you, chosen one. Let the enemy choke on that truth. Number 5. They bet on your head before you even agreed to play. They shook hands on your downfall before you even stepped onto the field. That's the level of clownery we're dealing with, chosen one. They literally bet on your head before you even agreed to play the game. That's how overconfident these amateurs were. They made promises, cut deals, whispered guarantees, took payouts, and strutted around like they already owned the ending of your story. Meanwhile, you were just minding your own business, sipping your water, thriving in your lane, completely unaware that a bunch of small-minded schemers were backstage placing bets like you were some predictable character in their script. The funniest part? They weren't betting on your failure because you're weak. They were betting on your failure because they thought you were easy. They assumed you'd react exactly the same way you reacted years ago. They assumed the old version of you still existed. They assumed you'd be naive, emotionally open, trusting, desperate for connection, or too kind to recognize a setup. They completely missed the memo that the universe has been upgrading you every single season. They planned this whole circus while you were quietly evolving into someone they no longer have the range to manipulate. Now imagine this for a moment. A group of gamblers sitting around a table, hyped, sweaty, overconfident, throwing money into the pot. They're laughing, trash-talking, bragging about what they'll gain once you fall for the trap. They're celebrating a win that hasn't even happened. And then, you don't show up. You don't bite the bait. You don't respond to the message. You don't attend the setup. The entire scheme collapses like a house built out of wet tissue paper. They're left staring at each other, asking, "So, who's paying me back?" That's the moment their stomach drops. That's the moment they realize they weren't betting on your failure. They were betting on your obedience. And here's the delicious truth they never expected. The universe is loyal to you in ways they will never understand. You're protected from deals you never saw, traps you never entered, conversations you were never meant to hear. They counted on your silence, but didn't count on your intuition. They counted on your kindness, but didn't count on your boundaries. They counted on the old you, but the upgraded you is practically untouchable. If you're wondering why this happens to chosen ones, here's the real answer. Your value multiplies in rooms you've never walked into. Your name circulates in conversations you don't even know about. People gamble on you, because even your energy is currency. They try to claim you before they understand you. They try to profit off you before they respect you. They try to predict you before they even meet the real version of you. Let the enemy choke on the fact that betting against a chosen one is the fastest way to lose everything. They gambled with your name like it was cheap. The universe treated it like royalty. Number 6. They celebrated too soon and look stupid now. They threw a victory party for a battle they never won. That's the embarrassing part, chosen one. They popped their imaginary champagne, bragged to the group chat, strutted around like they already had you tied up in their little scheme. And then the universe hit them with the most disrespectful plot twist of all time. Their confidence wasn't earned. It was delusion dressed as strategy. They ran their mouths before reality even happened. Rookie move. The truth is, they thought your path was predictable. They thought your loyalty made you blind. They thought your heart made you easy. So they bragged, they flexed, they whispered to their friends, "Yeah, I got them. Watch this." And then destiny stepped in like, "Relax, clown. This one's protected." Suddenly, all that loud energy turned into awkward silence. Now they're the ones dodging questions. Now they're the ones explaining why the big plan never landed. Now they're the ones sweating because the universe basically pulled the chair out from under them in front of an audience. If you're wondering why they celebrated early, it's simple. They were counting on the old version of you. They didn't realize the universe upgraded you while they were plotting, let them sit in their humiliation. Their downfall is proof of your protection. Number 7. The enemy mistook kindness for stupidity. They saw your kindness and assumed it meant permission. That was their fatal error. They looked at your softness and thought it meant weakness. They looked at your patience and mistook it for ignorance. They looked at your empathy and assumed you had no boundaries. That's what small minds do. They confuse emotional intelligence with vulnerability, not realizing it's actually discipline. Here's what they never understood. Kindness is a strategy. Restraint is a form of power. Staying calm is a weapon they can't predict. The enemy expected you to fall apart, lash out, get messy, or defend yourself in ways that exposed you instead. You stayed silent. You stayed observant. You stayed aware. You saw the shady glances. You caught the energy shifts. You read the room better than any of them. And the universe? It moves with people like you. Your kindness aligns you with protection. Your heart puts you on a different frequency. That's why their schemes slip, their lies glitch, and their masks fall off around you. So if you're asking, why do people always try me? The answer is simple. Parasites always test the strongest hosts. But the moment they mistake your kindness for stupidity, that's the moment they lose. Number 8. The real puppet master hid in the shadows, watching you rise. They watched you like prey and ended up witnessing their replacement. That's the twist they never accounted for. While you were focused on growth, healing, and leveling up, someone else was hiding behind the curtain, pulling strings, whispering poison, studying your every move like some dollar store mastermind. They positioned themselves in the dark, convinced you were easy to predict, easy to control, easy to corner. But here's what cooked them. They weren't watching a victim. They were watching a chosen one evolve in real time. The puppet master could have been anyone. The jealous boss who hates how naturally you outshine them. The coworker who melts every time people praise you. The ex who can't believe you healed without begging for closure. The bitter friend who always clapped a little too soft when you won. Or a random opportunist who saw your light and thought, how do I drain that? They all have one thing in common. They saw you as a resource, not a person. But something unexpected happened. While they tracked your every step, you kept rising. While they plotted detours, the universe cleared your path. While they tried to dim you, your glow only got brighter. And now they're stuck watching the very thing they were trying to stop. Your elevation. If you're wondering, why would someone secretly study me? Here's the answer. Power attracts parasites. Talent attracts jealousy. Purpose attracts enemies. People observe what they fear, and they study what they want, but can't become. You are everything they hoped you'd never figure out. Let the puppet master watch. Let them sit in the shadows. Because every level you rise to becomes another reminder that no amount of manipulation can outrun a destiny protected by the universe itself. Number 9. Their whole mission was to drag you down a level. They weren't trying to beat you, they were trying to shrink you. That's the part that exposes them. These people didn't want to rise. They wanted to pull you down so they'd feel taller. They weren't aiming to grow. They were aiming to downgrade your reputation, your peace, your stability, your confidence, your lifestyle. Anything that would knock that invisible crown off your head, because nothing scares a small soul more than a chosen one standing in full power. They tried to bait you into chaos. They tried to make you look unhinged. They tried to get you emotional, reactive, messy, or desperate. They wanted to drag you from Empress-level energy into Page-level confusion. They wanted you arguing, chasing, proving, explaining, because the moment you sink to their level, you stop being a threat. But you didn't fall for it. You stayed grounded, elegant, and aligned, while they scrambled to sabotage what the universe already stamped as yours. If you've been asking yourself, why me? Why do people try so hard to tear me down? It's simple. You carry a level of dignity they can't imitate, and instead of elevating themselves, they'd rather destroy the one who already made it. Let their failure sit heavy. The universe is lifting you higher precisely because someone tried so hard to drag you down. Number 10. The parasites smelled success and started swarming. Nothing attracts parasites faster than a chosen one stepping into abundance. That's the unfiltered truth. People don't swarm empty shells. They swarm sources. They target whoever has something worth stealing, draining, or ruining. Your glow, your grind, your discipline, your elevation, it all acted like a beacon. And the moment your blessings started forming, the users, leeches, opportunists, and fake supporters started circling like flies around a feast they didn't earn. They didn't show up because they liked you. They showed up because they sensed opportunity. They wanted access to your energy, your resources, your connections, your peace, your heart, your generosity. Anything they could latch onto. Parasites don't come for the weak. They come for the powerful and chosen ones. You're basically a walking power source. That's why these people acted as if you owed them access to your life. If you're wondering, why do I attract so many opportunists? Here's your clarity. You're evolving into someone valuable. You're glowing louder than you realize, and the universe is exposing the parasites so you can level up without them. Let them swarm. Let them reveal themselves. Not one of them can drain a soul that's protected. Number 11. They trapped themselves in their own bad plan. They dug a hole for you and fell into it head first. That's karma in its purest, most cinematic form. Their entire strategy collapses under its own stupidity. They didn't think ahead. They didn't consider consequences. They didn't prepare for you to wake up, resist, or walk away. They built a plan, assuming you were predictable, and the universe turned that assumption into their downfall. Now they're stuck with the mess they created. The fear, the anxiety, the confusion, that's all theirs. They're the ones replaying every mistake. They're the ones explaining themselves to people they brag to. They're the ones losing sleep because everything they tried to weaponize against you ricocheted straight back into their life. If you've been thinking, did they really think this through? No, they didn't. People driven by envy never strategize, they react. People obsessed with your downfall never calculate, they assume. And when the universe is standing with the chosen one, every trap becomes a self-inflicted wound. Let them deal with the chaos they created. You're rising, they're unraveling. That's the story. Number 12. The dog in you woke up and spooked everyone. They thought you were soft until your spirit growled. That's the moment everything shifted, chosen one. They weren't scared of your kindness. They weren't scared of your silence. They weren't scared of your peace. But the second that inner power, that instinct, that backbone, that untouchable aura snapped awake, every single one of them felt it. The room shifted. The vibe cracked. Their confidence drained. Suddenly, the same people who were planning to play you started looking at you like, hold on, who is this? See, the dog in you isn't aggression, it's presence. It's that unshakable energy that says, I don't start problems, but I end them. It's your boundaries standing tall, your intuition razor sharp, your posture unbothered, your aura heavy enough to make manipulators rethink their life choices. You don't have to yell, you don't have to threaten, you just exist differently now. And the universe made sure they sensed it before they made their final move. Imagine someone trying to walk up on a house they thought was empty, only to hear a deep growl from inside. That's what happened spiritually. They were approaching you with schemes, masks, and fake intentions, expecting a pushover. But the power inside you stood at the door first, and that presence alone sent them backing up like they saw a ghost. If you're wondering, why did they suddenly pull back? Why did they switch up? Because chosen ones don't need to fight to be feared. Your growth, your glow, your alignment with the universe, that's the dog. And once it wakes up, the enemy doesn't attack. they retreat. Number 13. You walk away, protected, solid, and untouched. They tried to shake your world and only managed to collapse their own. That's the closing chapter, Chosen One. After all the plotting, the whispering, the fake smiles, the silent signals, the setups, the traps, the hidden agendas, the jealous eyes, the greedy hands, the little conspiracies that weren't nearly as clever as they thought, look at the scoreboard. You walk away protected, solid, stable, and untouched. They walk away stressed, exposed, and carrying the fallout of every choice they made. Your peace didn't crack. Your foundation didn't move. Your home, your mission, your path, your energy, all of it stayed intact because the universe surrounded you like armor. Every delay, every instinct, every sudden change of plans, every weird feeling, every moment you hesitated, it was all divine protection disguised as inconvenience. The enemy thought you were drifting off course. But no, the universe was repositioning you to avoid impact. Meanwhile, the same people who swore they had you figured out are now sitting with consequences they never prepared for. They're obsessing over what went wrong. They're replaying every step. They're re-examining every assumption. They're explaining to whoever they bragged to why nothing went according to plan. Their mask slipped. Their reputation cracked. Their fake confidence shattered. They wanted you unstable. But now, they're the ones who can't sleep. If you're wondering, how did I make it through all that without a scratch? It's simple. Chosen ones aren't protected halfway. You're protected completely. Your aura hits first. Your intuition warns first. Your path is buffered by timing, instinct, and cosmic interference that no enemy can override. You didn't survive by luck. You survived by alignment. And here's the villain smirk truth they'll never swallow. You walked away with your dignity. You walked away with your blessings intact. You walked away with your mission untouched. You walked away stronger, sharper, wiser, elevated. They walked away exposed, embarrassed, empty-handed, and forced to live inside the mess they created for you. That's the final punchline, Chosen One. They tried to break you. All they did was prove you're unbreakable. And here we are, flowing back into the final moment of this story. Chosen One, here's the truth. Everything they threw at you became proof of your resilience. You didn't just survive the setup. You outgrew it, outclassed it, and outshined every enemy who swore they had you cornered. Your rise is the part they never saw coming, and now the universe is clearing your path for the next chapter. And thank you, Chosen One. If this message hit your soul, pay it forward. Press like, subscribe, drop the number 777 in the comments, and share this with someone who needs the reminder. Your support pushes this mission forward.